Hello and welcome to Horror Boys. It's a podcast on the internet. I'm Austin, joined as always by
Chris.
And Isaiah.
And we are the Horror Boys. And it's not just any podcast on the internet. It specifically is a horror movie review podcast where every week we review a horror movie.
What this is?
That's the intro. You can skip if you just want to hear our thoughts. Skip to the end.
Yeah, honestly.
They'll be interspersed.
Yeah, I normally spoil my little closing thoughts throughout the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austin will give his thoughts about 4 or 5 times during the middle of the podcast.
All right.
About 4 minutes.
I don't need this shade thrown at me. Okay. If you want to host the podcast, you can share. You can try to not share your thoughts as you're describing what happens. It's not that easy.
Neutral tone, yeah, hard to achieve.
So today we are continuing the. Oh, actually, I guess first off, I'll acknowledge the fact that last week I said we would probably be joined by someone today, but there was a lot of. We had like some technical issues getting him here, so he should be here next week.
Yeah, Chris was a hacker, and
yeah, you missed a crazy, hour of us trying to get it to work, but Discord be butthole sometimes. So yeah, we will. But yeah, we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Specifically, this week we were talking about the 2013 film Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is directed by John
Stamos.
Lucenshop. We'll go with that as the. And then I think the more
I was close.
Questionable choice here with why part of this movie isn't the greatest movie ever is the fact that it has 4 writers. 4. Most movies have at most 2. This movie had 4 people involved in the writing process.
Yeah.
My writers are I'll save him for last because I like what he did. Otherwise, I think it's funny to bring it up. So we got Kristen Ems, who is part of the writing team, as well as Steven Susko, who he wrote the Grudge movie, the American Grudge movies.
Oh.
Yeah. We have Deborah Sullivan and her husband, actually, Adam Marcos, who we've watched one of his movies before because he wrote and directed Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh. There we go.
Yeah.
the crown jewel of that
franchise. He was like 18 or 19 at that time, so he was, a lot older at this point, but older, maybe a little wiser. I will say, spoiler for my thoughts, I do think this movie is better than Jason Goes to Hell. So I think he has, raised his bar. It is not where it is not. This is not the worst movie I have watched written by Adam Marcos. Or Marcus. I think it's Marcus.
No, it was all just a part of his strategy to set the bar for his writing on the ground so that the next thing he did had to be better.
There we go. Yeah.
And honestly, I have a couple other tech things that none of them specifically I felt like made a lot of sense to bring up at any specific time. So we'll just kind of run through them like I like to do. So our special effects are once again by K&B Effects Group, which is according to the credits, Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger did it all. But watching the documentary, it seemed like Mike McCarty actually probably did most of the work, and they're just the people who own the company and therefore got the credit. He was the one who actually described all the processes throughout it. Neither of them were even in the documentary about this movie, but they were the ones who got credit on it. So take that for what you will. Then we also got our composer, who is John Frizzle, related to Miss Frizzle of
the Magic School Bus, right?
Yes. Of course. Then our director of photography is Anastas Mikos, who is most famously known for being the DP of the Kissing Booth franchise on Netflix, the romantic comedies.
The worst movie ever?
Yeah, there's 3 of them. He's DP'd them all. Yeah.
Awesome.
Then also we have our stereographer for this movie. The first time we've ever had a stereographer, or probably not, but the first time I'm giving credit to it, because that's the fancy word for 3D filmmaker. like the 3D, the guy who's like in charge of the 3D
I was
cameras.
fixing to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is
Yeah.
Ray
William
Humason?
Johnson. Oh.
Maybe I pronounced that right. Maybe I didn't. Who knows?
Yeah.
But now we got through the little other stuff, and we will start talking about the movie itself.
Yeah. Which will immediately start off with a title credits where it just reuses footage from the first movie.
Yeah. We get a little montage-y
Pretty
recapping,
cool.
which honestly, as much as, yes, it was way too long. It was like 3 minutes of credits. Mm-hmm. I understand why. This movie literally, when it starts doing new stuff, is picking up the moment after. Like, so they're trying to be like, hey, in case you didn't see it, here's the gist of what happened. Like, I get it. Like, I agree. It was a little egregious because, like I said, it's a 3-minute credit sequence that they don't even get through all the credits in. There are still credits going over the first, like, scene of the actual movie. They had 3 minutes and they couldn't get all the credits.
Yeah, it does. It picks up where the last movie left off, but also not at all, by introducing a bunch of characters that they do kill off pretty much immediately.
I mean, I heard that as a big complaint, and like from some of like the reviews I looked at, and you know, you're loving it, and I kind of see the point. But they do show cars showing up when the cop shows up, implying that these characters weren't just there. They're other family members that lived in the general area that came when they heard there was trouble. Like, I'm not going to defend this movie as being like art by any means, but to be fair to the movie, it's not like they're trying to make you think that these characters were there the whole time. They weren't. They weren't supposed to be. There was literally, they show two guys getting out of the truck, like getting in right as the
They show
cop
two guys, but also have a woman inside the house
Okay.
already, which there was not a woman inside the house at all in the previous.
But there was multiple cars in front of the building, and they show you the last two guys go in. The implication was that all those people showed up after. And here's the thing, you can still be like, they were pointless and they wrote him in for no reason, and I'm not going to deny that. But I will defend the fact that the implication was not that they were there the whole time. They did establish it by having two cars there. And yeah, we initially, after we get to the credits, and we have Sheriff Hooper, which is, fun nod to Toby Hooper. Oh, look at that. Look at them going, he made the first one. And he's played by Tom Berry, who was in the first two Fast and the Furious movies, and as well as Space Jam. His character's name in that movie, I don't remember the first name, but his last name was James. So I guess in that movie he was probably related. No. Was it Jordan? It might have been James, and I just forgot which movie I was looking at. But I think it might have been Jordan. I thought I remember when I looked at it, be like, oh, he must be related to Michael. But I also, his name might have been James, and I forgot that LeBron James was in the new one because I didn't care because both movies stuck. Sorry, millennials. Space Jam 1 is also terrible.
That is true. It's an unpopular
It's all nostalgia. You're basing it all off nostalgia. And here's the thing. I also thought the movie was great until I rewatched it in the last 5 years. And then I realized it was trash.
It's just terrible.
But yeah, so he's in Space Jam. And then he rolls up on the Sawyer house that now has a bunch of people at it, including...
Space Jam.
Yes, he rolls up at Space Jam, and Bugs Bunny is there, and we got a cameo by the OG Leatherface, Gunnar Hansen, who is playing a new character named Boss Sawyer. We also have Grandpa, who is being played by his original actor of John Dugan, which is pretty cool, I thought.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. I thought that was cool, because it was like, because he looks different, obviously, because it's years later, but it's still him in makeup. Because the first time he played the character, he was like 18, so now he's like maybe 60.
Dude.
But yeah, he's in it again. And then our next person who I feel like matters that I'll mention in the house is we have Drayton Sawyer, who is back, but this time because Jim Sedow had passed away back in 2003. They got Bill Moseley to play him. Bill Moseley, who was Chop Top in the second film. He gets to play Drayton.
It's really fitting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. I liked it.
And also, I will add here that the house was recreated really well.
Dude, seriously.
This is years later, and they had to literally build the house from scratch. But it's in the movie, you can tell that they did a really good job. In the documentary, where they really walk through the house, you can be like, "Oh crap, they don't even show upstairs, but they got the wallpaper right for upstairs. Like, what? Like,
it's wild, dude.
Yeah. Huge props. I was going to give huge props to the production designer, William A. Elliott, but according to the documentary, the director gave a lot of credit to the producer, Carl Mazzacone. So I would have thought the production designer would be the one to do it, but according to the documentary, it sounds like the producer actually had a lot of help in making it as accurate as it was. So, yeah. But yeah, it is it's crazy how well they did it. But yeah, where did I leave off? So yeah, we're kind of at this point where now the cop, Sheriff Hooper's like, hey, send out, I don't remember what words he uses. Probably,
the boy.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, I think, to be fair, I don't think Hooper is any of the people who actually uses slurs. There are a lot of derogatory terms for people with mental illness that are thrown out by everyone else in the family or the people who are about to show up. But I do actually believe Sheriff Hooper is the one good character in the movie. So
he calls him Simple.
Well, yeah, I guess that's fair. But I feel like Simple is the nicest way you could do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he tries to get him to send the boy. At first, Drayton is like, no, because he's family. But Boss Sawyer, ironically, the character played by the original Leatherface, is like, no, send him out there.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
But he does also, as Drayton's going off to go get Leatherface, there is a line from, who also, by the way, Leatherface is now known as Jedediah. He has a new name.
Yeah.
Which, if you're
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that they use Drayton, but then Jedediah is...
To be fair, the reason would be that Leatherface doesn't have a name in the original movie. Or the second.
Here's what really complicates it, though. Yeah, and this is probably just a trifling detail, but later on, when our heroine is looking through that evidence box, she finds this kind of register of names of all the Sawyer family, including the name Bubba Sawyer, which is what he was originally referred to as. So we were talking about, is Bubba just what the brothers are calling each other? Apparently there is a proper noun, Bubba Sawyer.
I feel like that, to be fair, is probably more of a...
reference.
Let's throw that in this little random shot that we're not going to even draw attention to as hey, remember Bubba? There was probably also leather. So no, just kidding. Bubba was his only actual real name throughout the series at all. That you could even make an argument that it was a real name. The rest were Leatherface. I think then it was Bubba. Then it was Junior. Then it was Leather. Then it was Tom. But those were the remakes. So those don't count in the same way. And I think the other thing that's kind of confusing is they chose the name Jedediah, which was also used in the remakes for a different character. That's the little boy.
You got to remind me.
The little bucktooth boy.
Jedediah was the little bucktooth boy in the remake.
Which does add to the bit of okay, there's a... Fine, you wanted to give him a name because officially he never had a name and you didn't like the name Bubba for an actual name for the character. Fine, that's fine. But maybe don't pick one that's been used by this franchise.
Agreed.
But yeah, so he goes back to get Leatherface, who throughout the movie is played by Don Yeager, and that's what I wrote here. But then as I was watching the documentary again, I found out that in this scene, actually, he's played by an actor by the name of Sam McKenzie, but only in this scene. This character plays young Leatherface, and I guess because maybe the body shape needed to be different. I don't know. Because he is a little bit chunkier, maybe.
When he's younger, and then he thins out.
Yeah,
I guess,
but not quite fully.
Living in a basement,
because that's something they actually brought up on the documentary about how I think it was the director was talking about, maybe it might be the producer, was talking about how they cast Dan Yeager because he has a little bit of a gut, and they didn't want him to be everyone who came to apply were these former football players or wrestlers, and they were all jacked and stuff. He's like, no, I want a guy who's kind of fat. So he got Dan.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because it somehow,
nice touch.
Yeah, he seems, I guess, more distinct as a monster, and it makes him a little bit scarier somehow. I don't know why. I can't explain why. But at the very least, it's more faithful to the original. Yeah. It had a little bit of a gut. His tie resting on it,
No, I agree. I don't need a skinny Leatherface. I want a skinny Leatherface, though. Now that I say it, I need a skinny Leatherface. But I didn't before.
I need a skinny Leatherface.
A gangly, long...
Yeah, what's the I want Doug Jones. Is that the guy who's in all the? He's the guy who plays the guy in Pan's Labyrinth with the
the like
eyes in his hands.
hand.
Like he's like a super skinny actor who does a lot of like weird
got
character
giant
work
hands.
because of like that. Like because he's got kind of a weird. But I want him to play Leatherface next. I think it's Doug Jones. But yeah, so they're about to give over Leatherface when a bunch of locals show up, and they are intent on killing the family. Specifically, also Leatherface. Like they like first they're like, "Hey, yeah, give us the boy, we'll kill him," kind of a thing. But then they decide, let's just kill them all.
Yeah,
the situation moves rather quickly.
First, I guess I'll mention here because this is the first time we see him. We have Bert, who shows up. He's kind of like the ringleader of this group of redneck yokels. And
cool.
Yeah, I stand by it.
I like it.
And he is played by Paul Ray. And they start to just Molotov. They start by Molotoving the house.
As you do.
Sorry?
Said as you do.
As you do, yeah.
I mean, if you want to take down a whole house, the best way is to set it on fire. I mean...
Not wrong.
And then they also just start shooting up the place, too. And they kill everyone. Everyone, but we find out a couple people do make it out of the house. But, like, you see everyone but Leatherface get shot. Because Leatherface was in the back. He never actually was in the room where people got shot. And we don't see him escape, but spoiler, he's in this movie. So he escapes throughout the back somehow or something.
Yeah, I mean, what I interpreted as him being down in his little basement dungeon. Because all we see in the aftermath is the house just leveled.
I don't think there is a basement.
And they're walking around on the
though.
ground, you know.
There was never shown to be a basement dungeon in that building.
Am I just imagining that? Like,
the only time you ever see him in that house is like in the kitchen, which is on the main level. Like the prequel has.
So there's no downstairs.
Like the remake.
Okay.
So I took it as he just like escaped out the back while the house was burning and they were all at the front. But it doesn't really matter. He survives.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then it kills pretty much all the Sawyers. But one other who does get to live is, I believe her name is Lorietta. For a little bit. She gets to live for like another scene.
Yeah.
Her and her little baby. Because we do see them in the house. We see her get shot, but she does make it out of the house. Where while everyone else is kind of going through the burned down house, like finding all their little trinkets, like they find the chainsaw and they're like, "Oh, we should hang this up above the bar." Which fun little thing is they actually do. The shot of the bar, you do see like the burn up chainsaw in the bar. So like I didn't write it down in the notes for like when we go to the bar, so I'll mention it here. I like the continuity there of being like, let's hang it at the bar, and then they do. So yeah. But there's a character whose name is Gavin Miller, who while this is happening kind of is walking around, and I guess he hears the baby. Gavin Miller is played by David Bourne. And he finds...
Jason Bourne.
Yes, Jason Bourne. And he finds a shot Sawyer woman and a baby, and then he takes the baby and just kicks the girl to death. Like one kick. Like when I say kicks to death, you assume I'm going to say like, oh, he like repeatedly stomps the guy. No, he kicks her once in the face and she's dead.
Just a swift kick right to the head.
And then we get a panning shot after that to her necklace, and we linger on that necklace. This necklace,
because
it
it's
might
an F.
be important. Spoiler. It's one of the probably the most important things in the movie, which sounds weird to say about this for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, but yes, it is the necklace that the Sawyer women wear is the most important part of this movie.
Yeah,
there is an amulet trope in the Texas Chainsaw franchise now. Yeah.
But yeah, and so Gavin takes the baby over to his wife, and they put her in a truck, and they leave her there to go take their for a lack of a better term, but like lynching photos, like that's what they look like, and that's definitely what they're trying to like get at. But yeah, so
before the Molotov cocktail plan, like a guy says, "Let's lynch him," and he swings the noose over their little.
I missed that,
wing.
and
yeah,
not surprised though. Like I said, these are yokels. What would you expect? But yeah,
that exact sentence was said in the writer's room at this movie.
And while we're getting these, group photos that I won't say the word again because, I don't know, YouTube might get mad at that word, probably. Who knows? I feel like in the context, it was accurate, but still. But yeah, so during these group photos, we do get a bunch of the flashbulb sound effect, woo! Which, it's during photos, so I'm actually completely okay with it.
Finally.
Yeah. Especially because this is also in the 70s, so maybe they were using a flashbulb camera for the taking of these pictures.
Yeah.
And then we get a 3D title card. Woo! Because this is a 3D movie. And I will say, when it comes to a 3D movie, especially ones we've watched, it is one of the least egregious overall. Some of the individual moments might be more egregious, and I will bring them up when they happen. Don't worry. But when it comes to, like, it's not every other shot is annoyingly in your face. So, I guess, by 2013, we realized, hey, maybe people don't want the yo-yo in their face. And they don't want the popcorn in their face. And they don't want,
Yeah.
They don't want everything in their face.
But it's 3D. They have to get their 3D money out of it. God.
Then we have an undisclosed amount of time jump, where we meet Heather, who is played by a 27-year-old Alexander Daddario, which would mean to make this obviously 2013 movie take place in the late 90s or early 2000s at the latest. Just saying, the hugest plot hole in this whole movie, is the timeline is poop. And it's like, because there are moments later where they establish that this is definitely in the 20-teens, because there's a man with an iPhone recording things.
Yes, the iPhone.
And also the way she's dressed, her eyeliner, her clothes. She is a 2012 girl, because that's, I believe, when the movie is officially supposed to be set. But the original movie was officially set in 1973, which means Alexander Daddario, who is playing a 22-year-old character the way she acts, is supposed to be 39 if you were to go off of the timeline the way it's supposed to be given. Just saying, It is the hugest plot hole flaw in this movie. And this movie is not perfect by any means in any way. But the biggest, and for me at least, the biggest flaw was this timeline is literally makes no sense. It's forgetting the fact that she's the most egregious character because you look at her and go, she's this hot 20-something, and you're telling me she's supposed to be pushing 40. But then you go, if you really think about any of the characters who were supposed to be around in the 70s, none of them seem 39 years older. The Sheriff Hooper, I guess, we see him later in the movie, and he's bald now. But, that's it.
Bald.
The rest of him looks
Yeah.
exactly the same, 39 years older. The mayor goes from having some scraggly hair when he's part of the mob, but later in the movie he's does not look
more trim.
70. And that's what he would need to be. Also, the things Leatherface does in this movie when he should also be 70, impressive. That man is a fit 70-year-old. He's got a little bit of gut like we've established, but if I looked like Leatherface when I was 70 and could do the things he could do, I'm living a good life.
Dude. Yeah, when that occurred to me at the outset when we got to look at our main character, and I thought, well, maybe it's set in the 90s, and I just started looking for anachronisms in the cars and things, and then I thought, well, I guess they're hiding it, and then a guy whipped out an iPhone, and I thought, well...
Yeah, there is a moment later where they do try to hide it, because when she looks at her mom's gravestone, spoiler, the date is obscured, but, the year... they obscure the year. You're see, maybe we've updated the whole franchise to be later. But also, it was supposed to be the 70s. And we all know it was. There's no way you could tell me, watching that first movie, it's supposed to be 83. Because let's say, we have bump it up 10 years, and Alexander Daddario is playing a 2-year-older character, and she's supposed to be 29. Okay. Her and her friends act a little young for 29, but it's possible. It's possible. But... that first movie was not in 83. They were all dressed like it was the late 60s. But yeah, it was it was 73, and it is a huge flaw that I will probably harp on at least one more time in my notes, but I have gotten out of my system now, but I will read my notes, and when it comes up again, I probably will bring it up again. Because during the
didn't
movie,
even realize it until you brought it up now, and now I'm like, yeah, it really doesn't make any sense at all.
yeah.
Pretty awesome.
It was also funny in the documentary. There was once mentioned, I think, from I know it was a writer or producer or someone on it was like, yeah, there's a little bit of a time issue, and it was like one line once in the documentary, and I guess that forgives it. And I guess according to him, it was because we wanted to make a movie that was set in modern times. And it's like, I get what you're saying, but also like, why do a movie set in 2000? All you had to do really was get rid of the iPhone and slightly change their clothing.
But then they couldn't have the cool iPhone scene.
Was that cool?
He would have been filming it with like a big tape recorder, and he mails it to the sheriff afterward, and they find, yeah. You got to do the iPhone for that latter half of the story.
They based this whole movie around the iPhone scene.
Okay.
He like whips out the antenna of his huge cell phone as he's down there with the gun.
I mean, hear me out.
Leatherface with it.
Write a movie that doesn't have that scene if you really want to set the movie as a direct sequel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons this movie shouldn't be direct.
Then we meet her friend at the because by the way, Alexander Daddario, when we meet her, she is chopping meat because she's a Sawyer. Sawyer's chop meat.
And play with bones and do bone art.
We're not at the bone art yet. Wait a second, we will get to that. First, we have to meet her friend, Nikki, who is played by Tanya Raymond, who was in 4 episodes of Malcolm in the Middle. Bringing it up because I love Malcolm in the Middle. Also, even though I say 4 episodes, she's a character that like is very like important in all 4 of her episodes. I would have swore she was in more episodes. Like that's how like her character feels important to the show for those first like 2 seasons. She's not obviously because she's in 4 episodes, but it felt like more. But yeah. And while they're both at work, and they're both working at a grocery store, and yeah, I'm kind of immediately like in this scene realizing that I don't like either of them. Tanya, who I did really like in Malcolm in the Middle, is just annoying throughout the whole movie. She gets worse even, because you find out she's a bad person to the people she cares about as well.
Her character is just that she is a sex.
Yeah.
And that is, harmonica.
She's got big old boobies. Look at her boobies. She's wearing her work uniform with her boobies out. Because that's what you do.
I definitely don't think that you can do that at any workplace, but, you know.
She's the manager, you know.
Oh, no, she's not. Because the other girl who gets her to leave this part of the scene comes up and says the manager is going to get mad at you if you don't come back, kind of a thing. There's a line about the manager. But yeah, also, I will say, she's not egregiously bad, but I would put Alexander Daddario in the long list of main protagonists who are kind of just there for the most part. She's just so uninteresting until the couple moments where she overacts a little bit and it gets bad. But I just felt for like the most part, like there's a specific scene that really stuck out to me as like, oh my gosh, this acting is so terrible. And I'll bring it up when it happens because, you know, I pick the movie. Yeah. I pick at the movie in every little thing, no matter what, because that's what we do. We are a horror movie review podcast. But yeah, then we head to Heather's apartment where she's making some bone art before her and Ryan, who is played by Trey Songz, start to make some bone art of their own. Just kidding. They're playing harmonica. I have to say playing harmonica. That was a funny joke, and I wrote it into the script, but I'm sorry. It's play harmonica. But also, they don't even really get to play harmonica because the FedEx man decides to, you know, block them a little bit. Because he rings the doorbell, so Trey Songz has to go downstairs and go get what he thinks is his contract. I don't know if it's for music or boxing, because he is shown boxing. I don't know what he's getting a contract for, but he's waiting for a contract.
Contract on something.
You know that he has a band?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. It's
nebulous.
Yeah,
and unimportant.
He goes down to get his contract.
It doesn't exist in the movie.
But instead it's actually some paperwork for Heather that's telling her that her grandma's dead. But wait. All her grandparents have been dead for a while. What does this mean? Well, Heather goes to confront her parents about it, and she finds out she's basically adopted, for the lack of a better term. Kidnapped, really? But
Stolen.
I guess there is a better term. The better term is kidnapped. She was kidnapped.
Yeah.
But also her parents
Adopted at gunpoint.
Yeah, both her parents are...
at boot point, really.
Both of her parents were kind of insufferable. Thankfully, they're only in this scene and one other scene that both of you might not have even seen.
I did.
Isaiah might have not, and that's fair. We'll talk about that when it happens. That's a tease. Stick around.
It's a Marvel moment.
Yeah, it's actually a fun scene. I liked it. We'll talk about what happens. It's a post-credit scene. Spoiler, Isaiah, because you seem very confused. There's a post-credit scene.
Okay. Yeah, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, and that's fair. I can't blame you for not sticking past the credits. My first viewing of this movie, I didn't see it. I then went out of my way to go see it when I heard someone else mention it in a video. Because I wasn't sticking around to the credits.
Yeah.
I did.
But yeah, and her mom warns her to not go to Newt, Texas, because nothing good comes from there. Which, I'll be honest, as much as like that's a true statement, I'm just surprised that her parents would have got out of Newt, Texas. They seem like the kind of, like, they were part of all of it. You think they would have been there forever, They just feel like they wouldn't have left, but they did. They left New Texas.
Yeah.
Good for them, I guess. But also, they're terrible people, so maybe not. I guess to be fair, the mom is less terrible. It's mostly the dad who's terrible.
Yes.
But the mom is also still not great. She still gives off like, all right, like, I don't know, she's just too trashy.
Well, the mom was present at the arson.
Yeah. She was there for the
cool
killing of the Sawyers, so she supported it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, once she comes home, she finds out that Nikki, Ryan, and Kenny have, decided... Oh, sorry. Also, Kenny is played by... Also, I don't know why... because we've already talked about the other two characters, that's why. Kenny is played by Karam Maliki Sanchez. It's a fun name to have to try to pronounce. And they've all decided to change their Halloween trip plans to not just go to New Orleans, but to start by going to Texas with her. Even though in this scene, they definitely, the way they worded it implied that they're just going to go to Texas with her, and they completely were selfless. But then in a scene later, we find out that the plan is just to stop in Texas.
Stop there, yeah. And we hear that they've got great barbecue.
That's true.
Again, kind of a throwback to the original.
Which also makes a lot of sense for Kenny to care about, because he's a chef. Which we found out in some other dialogue earlier that I didn't mention because it doesn't matter really until, I guess, a little bit later. But not ever really. But yeah, so they head off. And they start their road trip. And they stop at a gas station after, I wrote a hilarious, this should be in quotes though, conversation about credit card theft. Because they're like, I bought it with your card. She's like, it's okay because I used his card. It's like, okay, shut up. You're an idiot. I don't care. I don't care whose card you stole to pay for the gas. Like, let's be honest. You all should have been splitting this anyway, evenly. Whatever. They felt like they drew not a lot, but they drew enough attention to it that I wanted to make fun of this back and forth between, who paid for what thing discussion. But then as they were about to leave, they hit a hitchhiker who's named Daryl, who's played by Sean Sipos. Were you saying something, Chris?
No.
Okay. Then during their travels, because they pick him up too. It's after a very short conversation, they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll trust you. Yeah. Also, it's around this point in the movie where I really realized I have no idea where the movie started. Well, I'm not sure. The movie started in New Texas, but where we got introduced to these characters, I don't know where they're supposed to live. Because they're going to New Orleans, but they're traveling through Texas. But he's hitchhiking from Tulsa to Shreveport, Louisiana. So he started in Tulsa, but they pick him up before they get to Texas.
Yeah, somehow before.
So Texas. I guess maybe they're in OKC. I think that might add up as possibility. They started in Oklahoma City, and this is right when they picked him up. It doesn't really matter, but it was just a moment where I went, I don't know if they know how geography works.
Yeah.
That would be the only situation that would make any sense.
Yeah, they would have to have been like in like Oklahoma City or like some smaller town, maybe right above the border of like Texas, is the only thing that would kind of maybe make sense. But yeah. Then as they start to drive, though, I will say there was actually a legitimately really funny song starts to play as they start this like next part of the road trip. Where it's this, it's a song that's like talking about how like if you mess with God, he'll F you up. It's like, what?
You better
like
obey the Lord or he's
harmonies.
gonna...
F you up, and you're like, what the heck is this song? Which actually, I guess now that I think about it, is like really like, I guess the central theme of the movie due to some other throwaway lines. Because in the first scene, which we didn't mention it, but spoiler, it becomes important again. I'll mention it here because whatever. But Bert makes a mention of how, it's eye for an eye, Sheriff. You can't escape the good book. So I guess the central theme of this movie is don't cross God or you will be murdered by a Texas chainsaw wielding freak.
Yeah, I understand.
Don't mess with God.
That's actually a quote from Leviticus 2.
Yeah, this movie really said, hey, we see your weird religious imagery remake, and we'll raise you an even more convoluted kind of religious plot. But only kind of.
If you squint.
Yeah, if you squint. If you squint, you squint and you cross God, he might F you up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we then get a discussion on the importance of family between Heather and Daryl.
Family, eh?
Yeah, that's the scene goes a little bit longer. And here's fair. And once again, it's one of those scenes where it's completely a fine scene. But for the sake of our podcast, they talk about family.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's move on. I would say that it kind of matters because I think at this point there's supposed to be a slight red herring of, is Daryl a Sawyer? Because it's the Texas Chainsaw franchise.
Because he's a hitchhiker.
And you're like, every hitchhiker has been part of the Sawyer family or involved with the Sawyer family, except for the one in the remake who didn't kill herself. And technically the one who killed herself wasn't a Sawyer or a Hewitt in that version of the world. But I will say that I do think this scene is a little important because I feel like it's also establishing the theme heavily of family is important.
Blood is thicker than everything.
I guess you could define it that way.
Yeah.
You might also, without eliminating that possibility, just see it as you can't get around your origins.
Mm.
Like you can't escape your origins.
That's fair.
Saying something about destiny. But at the very least, our suspicions are raised about the hitchhiker.
Yeah. Then after a gratuitous Nikki changing her shirt shot, she just
in the van.
Yeah, just like, all right, first shirt off, other shirt on, but no nudity because this is a post Scream horror movie and nudity doesn't exist anymore. Which to be fair, I don't care, but it's also horror still felt the need to still try to be titillating when they weren't. It's like, look at the bras in every one of these Texas Chainsaw films now. It's like, all right, cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's like we talked about in Victor Crowley. If you're not willing to show nudity, don't draw attention to the fact that you're not showing nudity. But yeah, whatever. It's too fair. That's not like a big complaint I had with the movie. I don't care.
Why isn't there more boobs?
Yeah. Why don't I see more? Well, there actually is a moment when it comes to boobs that I will complain heavily about when we get to it. But when we get to it, I'll get to it. You'll probably remember it once I bring it up, or you won't, and that's fine. Once again, you didn't realize the huge glaring timeline plot hole that I immediately was like, "This is stupid."
Yeah, I was phased out.
The movie had just started. There wasn't time to have been phased out, Chris.
I started the movie. I said, "Uh-oh, here we go." Yeah.
But yeah, she changes her shirts. And then the van turns on Homestead Road, where her grandma's house is at. Because I guess we have to make it really, you have to know that this is home.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on Homestead Road, you're family. You're a Sawyer then. If you're on home, it's just like, all right, Homestead. I feel like it's too on the nose. Maybe that's just me.
I think that's fair.
Should have been like Slaughterhouse Road or something, you know? Like, less on the note.
Yeah.
And as they're turning, though, we do get a shot of a dead armadillo, which is a callback to the original.
Yeah, and it really lingers on that shot of an armadillo.
I mean, to be fair, it seems like it was probably
is it a shot of the original?
I think the original was about as long. But that was also a classic 70s horror movie of, we don't have enough plot to make an hour and a half, so we have to add in a bunch of extra long shots to make the movie happen. And that also continued throughout, like, all the 80s classics, too, for the most part. I feel like until you get to, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, there was a lot of filler in a lot of horror movies.
Dude, and additionally, it looks like this armadillo died of old age. Like, it is just frozen and legs in the air and totally unmarred.
Yeah.
Like, at least our last dead armadillo had a wound. Yeah, it just went to the road and took one last lingering look and keeled over.
Yeah, you understand.
Yeah, I thought the last armadillo we had was in, like, 3.
It might have been, but the first one also has a shot, like, of the armadillo, like, on the side of the road. That is just as not important to the story as this one. Like, the one in 3 was, like, central to the theme of the movie of her in the sense of she, like, couldn't kill it, but was able to try to kill Leatherface. So, like, I would say that armadillo was important to the plot.
Yeah, in
absolutely.
3.
Mm-hmm. This one is just
this is like the first one where it didn't matter at all. It was just a shot for the sake of a shot.
It's reminding us of Texas and death. Yeah. So here we are.
No, I agree. This one is not important at all. Just like the original's shot wasn't important at all. But it's them doing a callback, and that's why they did it. But yeah, they show up to the giant iron gate of Grandma's house. And they're all like, "Are you sure this is it?" Which is fair. I mean, I don't think any of them assumed that she was going to be inheriting the kind of house she's about to inherit.
Yeah,
but
fair.
Before
especially
they can get inside,
from a Sawyer.
Yeah, she's just. Well, they don't even know who the Sawyers are at this point.
They just, but we do.
Yeah,
I definitely didn't expect a mansion.
That's fair. I probably watched a video on this movie years ago and did. But yeah, Mr. Farnsworth shows up, who's her lawyer. Well, I guess her grandma's lawyer. But
the estate lawyer. Yeah,
Mr. Farnsworth shows up, who is played by Richard Reel. Office Space fame for the most part, but yeah, for Horror Boys fans, yes, Hatchet 1 fame.
Baby.
I'll acknowledge his actual probably biggest role. Yeah, it's Office Space. Fine,
Hatchet 1.
But for us, this is a Hatchet 1 actor.
There we go, Hatchet alumnus.
Which at this point he is a Hatchet alumnus. Most of the time when we talk with people like, hey, remember them from Hatchet? They only got that role because they were in like a horror movie in the 80s. Like, this is like actually one where it went the other way around for once.
Yeah.
He's actually of Hatchet fame.
For our podcast, yes.
Actually, I mean, when it comes to horror, I think Hatchet might have been one of his first movies he did. Like, I could be wrong, but I think I remember hearing that he was also in something else. But I thought it was like the Halloween remakes or something, which those started in 2007. But it might have been a different character that I heard was in Halloween 7 and forgot that, you know? I think it was him, though. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But yeah, it's cool. He's here. He's always a delight. He's not quite as awesome as he was in Hatchet, because in Hatchet he was playing, old Midwest man. But he is still...
cartoonier.
Yeah, he's still pleasant in this role because he's still him.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of a lore dump from him. Ooh, a bunch of exposition about how she can't sell the house. Her grandmother's name was Verna. She wasn't popular.
She was a salt of the earth woman, though.
I mean, that's true. Also, she was, our girl Heather, she was never lost. As well as the importance of the date, August 19th.
1969.
But most she doesn't know. She doesn't know. It's definitely not. What? What? No, that's not.
It will go down in the annals of history.
Alright, shut up. And also, most importantly, because he emphasizes this twice, to read this letter from Verna.
Spoilers, she doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the second you hear that be said, you're like, she's not reading the letter. Like, before you see the movie, you go like, he told her to read it. She can't read it now.
Yeah, she can't read.
Pocket
Period.
it goes.
Yeah. Then so he opens the door and they start to go in. He doesn't come in though, because he's got some other stuff to do. But he also definitely looks nervous, because he knows about what's in the house. So he's like, nah, I'm gonna not. Call me if you need me. I'm gonna leave, which is fair. And then as they walk up towards the house, we get, that's right, a low angle butt shot of Nikki.
Woo! Butt shot!
Yeah, it just keeps happening.
Yeah, it sure does.
More and more low-angle butt shots. That's what you want, right? Because this movie also... There are a few other times that I don't mention it when it happens, because I don't feel like they were as intentional as this one. This one felt like the intentional, like, we're recreating the low-angle walking butt shot. But there just is a lot of low-angle camera shots in this movie, which happens to put, butts in the frame. So we get lots of... specifically Nikki's butt in this movie. Yeah. Which, that's pretty much why she's in this movie, is to be pretty. Look at her. She's half naked. Cool.
Yeah.
And annoying. And a bad friend. We haven't got to that yet. We don't know she's a bad friend yet. Sorry. Spoiler. She's a bad friend.
Oh, she's a bad friend?
Yeah, she's a bad friend. They all start to kind of look around this beautiful mansion that Heather has inherited, with all of its sliding wooden doors, which I wrote down because I thought there was going to be an importance there. I was like, oh, there's going to be a shot where they do a sliding wooden door close instead. No, there's not. They don't ever come into play. And I honestly, it might be the thing I'm most disappointed if I'm just kidding. It's just a missed opportunity. But yeah, I really thought these sliding wooden doors were really important to the plot. They weren't.
Not at all.
It was very sad when they never came back into play. And then her and her friends keep looking around. Specifically, Daryl starts to play some music while Ryan and Nikki start to play some pool.
Yeah.
And then I guess Kenny's just there. But
Nikki does grab up on Ryan.
Of course, yeah. And I guess it's kind of the first hint that maybe there's something there. But at this point, you don't quite... You think, hey, maybe she's just being, playful. Maybe a little bit. It's not. She's a bad friend.
Yeah, she sure is.
Yeah, and then while this is all happening, Heather, she, goes to do some, just looking around. She finds the graveyard, where her mom's gravestone date is obscured because even the movie knew it made no sense to set this 39 years after the original and cast a bunch of 20-somethings. All right, moving on. I had to read what was my notes. My notes were still very angry at that point. Austin's moved on, but my notes were still very angry. And sometimes when I'm really angry, I say something really funny, and I didn't know if that was going to be one of them, so I had to just read it. Then her friends come and join her outside, and they head off to buy some steaks for dinner, leaving Daryl at the house. Which,
yeah,
Heather.
This guy that you just met, you're leaving at your new mansion.
Yeah, you understand. It's okay though, because Heather's a little suspicious about it. She's giving him some suspicious looks. Which was immediately proven to be sound as we watch him start to just steal a bunch of valuables. We cut to a quick scene of the now Mayor Bert and his right-hand man Ollie noting that the kids are visiting town. Noticing, as well as Ollie's noticing that butt. Because that's what the movie's about, Nikki's butt.
Yeah, this is Nikki's butt, the movie.
I mean, I don't know. It would either have gotten more people to watch it or less. I'm not sure. It would have got more people might have been interested. Oh, a movie about a butt. But you know what it also doesn't have? Brand recognition. There was no Nikki's the Butt that came out in 1973. You need that brand recognition. That's why we keep getting remakes and reboots. That's just the truth. There's no joke there. That's just a fact. It's a sad fact.
Just a phenomenon
but it's the truth.
Of the film industry.
That's why we got Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 rather than a new original idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Halloween 2018, for making that a viable option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, gonna move on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then at the store, we find out that Nikki and Ryan hooked up once, because she comes up and just grabs his crotch in the store. And he's like, whoa, I'm Trey Songz, don't do that.
Yeah, he gets a hearty handful.
And you're like, can you believe it? I thought Nikki was cool. Her and
She
Kenny,
seemed,
though. Poor Kenny.
They have such integrity. And
Like, yeah, sure, poor Heather, but she's like 39. She'll find another man. Kenny, he's a young 20-something. He's going to be real sad.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Then we're back at the house, and Daryl finds the secret basement. It's behind, apparently we find out later it's a butler's pantry is what the first place to get into it, which apparently isn't that, like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, secret door in the wall, that's crazy. But apparently that's just maybe a thing in rich, like, houses. So maybe it wasn't as crazy of a thing.
Yeah.
I thought it really showed, like, how much they were trying to be secret. But it wasn't. But yeah, he goes in there, and then he also goes downstairs to the basement. Where once he's inside, he finds a big wooden door, or once he's down the stairs, he finds a big wooden door, and he unlocks it with the big key, and he finds... What's he gonna find? That's right, it's a wine cellar. Just a wine cellar.
It's a wine cellar.
Just a wine cellar where we pan over to a giant metal door!
There we go.
Sliding, even. I didn't mention that when I said giant, but yeah, it's a sliding metal door. Is Leatherface in this movie?
On this door.
Oh my gosh, Leatherface might be in this movie.
Dude. We hope.
And to be fair, I say that like it's like really late in the movie. We're not far in the movie. Like, it's not like it's been like that long where I'm like, well, is Leatherface gonna show up? Like, we're maybe 20 minutes into this movie. The first 10 were all about the Sawyers.
We're just going to our podcast, you know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be funny. I'll be honest, I have complaints about this movie. That honestly isn't one of them. Leatherface is in it enough. But yeah. So he looks around. He tries to open the sliding metal door. Can't do it. So he breaks his knife trying to open even. So he goes to look for something else to kind of try to help him, use some leverage to open the door. But as he's going to look for it, out pops Leatherface, who just bashes his head in.
Yeah.
I will immediately say, because this is our first like real kill we've seen. I mean, I guess technically we started with like 7 kills.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our first like horror movie kills, it's pretty good. I would say,
dude,
90% of the horror movie style kills in this movie are good. There's one that's really not, and I'll get to it.
Which one are you thinking of?
I'll tell you when we get to it. I will complain about it when it happens, but there is one that is bad.
Because they are mostly like
most of them are
they're
great.
Confident and their whole frame.
And you know they're also great about most of them.
Convincing.
They're also like practical. Almost all of them are practical.
Yes.
Maybe me saying that might have given you the hints. People who've seen this movie, which one I hate. But yeah. So yeah, he gets his head smashed in with a hammer. And then we go back to town, where we meet Officer Carl, who's played by Scott Eastwood, the son of Clint Eastwood.
Spoilers, he is not as good an actor as Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, no, he's not great. He might be the worst male actor.
The worst
in the
actor?
movie. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, I'm going to say yes because I haven't seen any of his other work, and I have seen work from, like, Nikki's actress, Tanya, that I like. But Tanya is pretty darn insufferable with her acting choices throughout this whole movie as well. But I will say, yeah, it's probably Scott is still probably a little worse, for sure. But yeah, apparently acting does not run in the family.
Apple fell far from the tree.
It's not genetic, I guess.
I would have thought acting was genetic, but
not unless you're Jack Quaid, son of Dennis Quaid.
But then you're also nephews of Randy Quaid, who was a decent actor, but we don't want to talk about him as a person anymore. He's like living in Canada for like I don't even remember what, because he's like running from the U.S. government. Yeah, Uncle Eddie from Christmas Vacation has run from the government.
That Quaid. I get my Quaids mixed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's Randy Quaid. And he's no longer allowed to be in the United States.
Fascinating.
Because if he ever came back, well, that's not true. He's allowed to be back in jail where he belonged. I don't remember what it was, so I don't want to speculate. It might have been something really bad. So we'll move on.
Could just be,
tax evasion. I don't remember.
Tax evasion.
Yeah. And you know what? Take down the government. I don't care. Well, take down by not paying your taxes. That's all I mean. That's all I'm condoning is don't pay your taxes. But I'm also legally not condoning. It was a joke. Pay your taxes. I think I've covered all my bases. I'm good now, right?
Yeah.
Now we can move on.
All right. Yeah.
So Scott Eastwood's in this movie.
Yeah.
He's playing Carl, who has a little charming, not really, because like we said, he's not a great actor, conversation with Heather, who also, for the most part, I did not enjoy in this movie. I didn't hate her for the most part either. I just didn't care. So
She was there in this movie.
So they have a little conversation before Mayor Burt shows up and is like, hey, is this guy bothering you? I'll shoot him. And then Carl's like, he will. And then he leaves.
Dude. Yeah. And it's funny how quickly Carl gets characterized as a villain, because he shows up and he pitches this line at her, and I think, is this potential love interest number 3 maybe for Heather?
To be fair,
and she immediately is just not giving him anything back. So
I thought it was more of a situation of, I didn't take him as a villain at all at this point. I'll be honest, that's actually one of the things I think the movie did well was his, villain reveal. Spoiler. For people who like to listen to our podcast to learn the movie as it happens, sorry. I thought he did a decent job. I think more so she was shutting him down because she had a boyfriend who she doesn't know is cheating on her yet.
Scoreboard is... I was going to say, the scoreboard is still not even between us by any means, but I'm just going to chalk this one up for me, something I actually did notice.
Okay, that's fair.
So
no,
I'll pat myself on the back for that.
That's fair. But I will say, you were also saying she immediately shuts him down. I thought her immediately shutting him down was because she was a good girlfriend while her boyfriend was a bad boyfriend, and she was like, oh, I'm in love with Trey Songz, and you don't look like Trey Songz. You look like discount Clint Eastwood. Why would I want to be with you? Did you see Trey Songz' abs in the first introduction scene? Why would she ever try to be with anyone else? She got to make bone art with him.
That is true.
Dude.
I'm just going to double down on that joke because I was really proud of it.
You should be proud of it. You should frame that one.
I will. In a nice little frame with bones on it.
Yeah, bone frame.
Yeah. And then we also, at the end, we said this, after Carl leaves, Mary sticks around and kind of is like, tell me about you. And she's like, oh, yeah, I live in this. Here. It's him figuring out what we all know already, that she's related to the family. She's a Sawyer. All right, cool. He tried to buy the house, and she says no. Because she literally can't sell the house. That's against the trust, which I think you have to follow. You don't have to follow it. And let's be real, she's dead. You can't. Yeah, maybe you can't do it legally. You can't sell it, but she could sell the house. She could take it under the table. Which, let's be real, Mayor Burt would be completely willing to do an under the table deal. It is not below his CAC. He's like, I only do under the table deals. But
Is there another way?
Yeah. So she leaves with her friends. And then at the house, Heather finds out she's been robbed. And we get, I think, the worst acting in the whole movie. Scott Eastwood might be worse overall. But her reaction to being robbed was, oh no, I've been robbed.
What a nuisance.
This sucks.
Yeah,
she throws out some more
robbed.
expletives too. Because, every character in this movie has to just curse nonstop. Because that's how... that is how people talk. But I feel like Alexander Daddario doesn't curse because she seems awkward when she curses. There's some people who's like, you don't sound right cursing. And I feel like she's one of those people because it just she's just like, oh, he effing robbed us. And she doesn't seem to care. And to be fair, a scene later, she's decided to just completely not care. But at this point in the scene, she's still supposed to care that she got robbed, but she's not showing it because And, like, here's the thing. She's gone on to do some, like, other work that I think she's been praised for. So, like, I'm sure Alexandra Daddario is a good actress. But in this scene especially, I was like, you got robbed. Like, that sucks. Like, I know you didn't know about this stuff until today, but, like, that was worth a lot of money, and you could tell, and it's gone. Care! And then, you know, Ryan didn't notice, so he walks up with the champagne, like, let's party. And he's like, oh, oops. And then immediately she's done, and they're toasting to the Sawyers, and they move on. But it was just
her friends effectively console her.
I mean,
they do
that's
a good
fair.
job.
I'm fine with.
Here's
the thing. I would have been fine with them moving on part of the scene. It was if she hadn't already seemed like she didn't care.
That initial reaction.
Yeah, she already didn't care. Like, they didn't need to console her. She already was nonplussed by being robbed. Like, it was over. They could have saved the champagne for later. She didn't care. You didn't need to console her yet. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I think the important part of this whole scene, though, is she toasts to the name of the Sawyers. Cool.
Yeah.
Later, Heather goes to start looking around, and these next couple scenes kind of all happen around, like, the same time, and we sometimes cut back and forth, but I'm just going to go through them in, like, the order of the times they first appear. So we start with Heather, who's looking around upstairs, and she realizes that her birthmark is actually a brand of her mom's necklace, which I'm going to pause right here to point out the fact that, fair, okay, then that birthmark now would be stretched to crap because she would have been branded as a baby, and then her skin would have grown. But instead, right now, it is perfectly sized to match up with the necklace, to the point where, spoiler, big plot point is someone else recognizing it as the necklace.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be. If it branded her as a baby, which, first off, that's dark, but cool, fine, I'm fine with that. Like, then it needed to brand her as a baby and would be giant now as she's grown. But no, it's just now perfect size. So I guess, I don't know, there's no way to explain how it happened.
Well, they give the babies the baby medallions, and the adults the
I
big
think
medallions,
it was supposed to be her mom's medallion that burnt onto her. Okay, all right, fine. That's fair. Fine with me. I'll take it. Whatever. Sure. Whatever. But yeah, it's a flaw. It's another flaw. I'm sorry. I'll point out the glaring flaws when I see them, like Scott Eastwood's acting.
But
Scott Eastwood being in this movie at all.
Yeah. Then, while Kenny is cooking in the kitchen, he finds the secret butler's pantry, and he heads down to the basement, where he finds Daryl's bag and blood. Doesn't seem at all to really react to there being a giant pile of blood on the ground. And I don't know if maybe I'd say maybe, he didn't see it. But they showed it to us from his point of view. Like, hey, here's the blood. Like, he should have saw this puddle of blood.
Kind of just walked down there and was like, big puddle of blood.
Daryl, also, like...
Daryl's at you?
Also, Daryl,
are you the one leaving big puddles of blood?
Yeah. Also, at this point, Daryl is a guy that is a known thief. You don't know what he's going to try to do to you, Kenny, if you try to mess with him. Like... all you know about this guy is he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
And he's just all like friendly, like, Daryl, where are you? It's Kenny. And then he walks into Leatherface's actual, like, past the sliding metal door, which is now open. And he kind of just looks into the darkness for a while. And then out pops Leatherface, who chases him back up the stairs and hooks Kenny in the back and drags him down.
Another hay hook. There we go.
And then we're done with that. We're going to come back to that later. Is Kenny dead? Not yet. Back to the main floor where Nikki runs into the pool room, not as in like the room where the pool table is. The billiard room.
Into the pool.
She runs into the billiard room.
Yeah, there we go.
And she's just freaking out. She's like, you gotta come. It's so messed up. She says effed up, but we're a PG podcast, because if not, I have to click explicit on the audio, and then it's just like, then we get served to less people, and it's just like, it's easier just not to curse. But yeah.
True.
And she gets Ryan to follow her, and to see this messed up thing in the barn Once he gets there, he goes out and he flips over this, bucket that she says the thing is under, and it's a bottle of tequila she had hidden. And he turns around and he sees that once again, unnecessarily, really, she's stripped down to her underwear again, because apparently that's all Tanya was paid to do, was please be as close to naked as possible, but we understand you don't want to be naked. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get this era of horror's need to try to be titillating, but not have the balls to actually be titillating. Like, do it or don't. Like, either is fine. There are great horror movies that have no titillation.
Do or do not
but
try.
To just be like, hey, everyone, when everyone's like stripping down for people and then they stop in their bra, it's like, I mean, I'm sure some people have. I'm not saying that never happens, but I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, don't do it. If you're not willing to do it, don't do it. All right, I'll move on. It's also, no, I'm not going to move on. I lied. Because here's the thing. You know what you could also have done? Is you could have had her, like, you cut the scene away right as she starts to strip. So it's like, but she's, like, done, clothes off, presenting, look, I'm in a bra for you. And it's like, all right, what, sorry. Like, I don't know. It irks me. Because it's like, just don't do it then. Or give me boobies, is really what I'm trying to say.
They both know what you want. We know why you're so angry. I just want to see Tanya's boobies.
I do. No, I don't. I'm a man of dignity, and I would never admit to that. All right, we'll move on. For real this time. Probably.
Probably.
Then we're back upstairs to Heather, who's exploring, where she, finds some perfume, and then she also finds a dead body. Wait, no, that's not normal.
Yeah. In which she underreacts again.
I guess. I mean, she does kind of. I didn't notice this was as much underreacting, but I'm sure it was. Because once again, like I said, I don't think she's the best actress in this movie, so I wouldn't be surprised if she does underact.
I mean,
but she kind of runs away screaming.
That's been decaying there.
I think she's got good scared reactions in this movie.
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem with this one.
My opinion. Yeah.
Like, I have problems with some of her other acting choices. I didn't have a problem with it. She freaks out and runs away.
Yeah, I think she does this mood well, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Personally,
you're wrong, Chris.
I'm underwhelmed by all of this movie.
I feel like that's fair. She runs away, looking and yelling for Ryan. When she hears what she thinks is Kenny in the kitchen, she finds Leatherface just chopping up some fingies. Giving himself a little snack for later.
And making himself a
finger salad.
Some fingy links later. Put them in a Zippy lock bag.
Sure. But yeah, he's just cutting up fingers. It's a cool shot. Like, it's weird, but it's cool. I won't, like... I pointed out because on paper, when you say he's just chopping off some fingers on a cut off hand, it's weird, but it's creepy. I can't. It did creep me out a little bit. But
I guess the effectiveness of the scene is that it does feel like just a slight twist from what one would normally be doing in a kitchen. He could have been hacking up a whole body. He's like, just making stew or whatever.
Yeah.
It could have been a carrot, zucchini, fingers.
Sure. Again, I liked it. I do feel like it is a little weird, but I respect it still. But yeah, so she goes to try to run away, but he pulls her from behind, and she falls back, knocking herself out on a table leg. Then we get a little flashbulby montage. Woo!
There we go.
Before she wakes up in the basement, in like blurry vision, she watches as Leather is cutting off Daryl's leg with a chainsaw. Then as she comes into normal vision, he starts walking towards her, but Kenny's still alive. Oh, no, he goes to put Kenny on the meat hook, sorry. He puts Kenny on the meat hook, but Kenny's still alive and grabs at him. So Leatherface then grabs his chainsaw and in a brutally awesome way, horizontally cuts straight through Kenny with the chainsaw, killing Kenny.
At the waist.
That bastard.
It's good. It's hard to think of a more brutal kill in the franchise.
No, like this is definitely this
So
might be
far.
one of the best kills period that we've seen. Like Hatchet gives it some run because Hatchet that's kills. That's what the franchise is.
There's some creative kills in there, yeah.
But like this, like honestly, behind maybe like Richard Reel's wife in that movie getting her head ripped off, this might be my second favorite kill period, like that we've watched on this podcast. Like this is amazing and deserves all the credit for what it is. It is a amazing. This is what you expect. This is what we have been. This is our what 7th Texas Chainsaw film.
Gosh, dude.
7th Texas Chainsaw film, and we've just now got to what I think everyone would have expected every movie would have been. Like,
Yeah. Fair.
like yeah, the last movie was the
Chainsaw
first time we got a
disembowelment.
chainsaw cut in half, but it was done in like almost a tasteful way where they like don't show it. Like, really,
Which is good.
And I'm fine.
You know,
yeah, I'm not faulting the
yeah.
the prequel remake, the remake's prequel.
The pre-make.
This franchise is so convoluted and complicated.
It's convoluted, dude.
Convoluted, if you will. Combining the words and also throwing a B instead of a P because I messed up as I was talking. But yeah,
They're kind of the same letter.
they're just upside down. Yeah. So yeah, it's awesome. I want to make sure how awesome I think it is. Like I added in me talking about how it was brutally awesome at the beginning because I wanted to be able to rush through that so I could get my killing Kenny that bastard joke in. But like it deserves all the credit in the world. It's amazing. I was really proud of that joke, but I had to. It does deserve credit for just. It's definitely the best kill in the franchise. Like, but it's up there. Period. Because it's just great. Like, I want to see a guy get cut in half. That's awesome. Maybe I need to go see a psychiatrist. Fair. But I love it.
Yeah.
Then Heather runs away from that, and she gets outside where she trips down the stairs in a scene that made me cringe really bad. More than the last kill we just watched where a guy got cut in half. Once again, I might need help. But that, I was like, oh, cool. And then when she trips, like, like, I went like, ow.
Yeah, she's bouncing on these stone stairs.
I know.
Dude.
Like, don't get me wrong, it is a
Owie.
brutal trip, but I do think there was an element of, as I watched it, and the way I cringed at that, I was like, maybe I do have a problem. Because when the kill was happening, I was like, oh yeah! But then she trips, I'm like, oh, ow, my elbow.
Ooh, yeah.
So, I guess I have problems.
Dude.
But yeah, so now she gets to limp away, because someone has to always limp. And Leatherface starts to chase after her with a chainsaw. She hides behind a tree at first, then behind a gravestone, eventually hiding in Verna's open grave and also casket within the grave. Then Leatherface doesn't take long though. He kind of comes over and finds her, and he starts to come at her with the chainsaw into it in a nice, awesome 3D effect. It's not. It's one of the first times where the 3D really felt egregious and annoying. When he just it comes straight at the camera. It misses her, but it comes straight at the camera. And you're like, oh, cool. There's a chainsaw in my face. Cool.
That's a cool shot, dude.
I mean, I guess
I'm easily entertained.
And here's the thing. That's fine. That's why it's here. Like, I'm just a cynic. Like, that's the point of 3D movies is to do these stupid shots. But I don't get it. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't go, whoa, the chainsaw's in my face. I go, cool. It looks awkward and it's taking up most of the frame because you wanted it to stick out on this 3D camera. But
the yo-yo numbed the effects
it's
of 3D cameras on your brain.
That's really my real point is you're never going to top the yo-yo or the popcorn from
You can't top
Friday
the
the
yo-yo,
13th 3D.
yeah.
So don't try.
Chainsaws, come on.
What it is someone putting a chainsaw on my face, unrealistic. Someone cutting me in half, unrealistic. Me popping popcorn or tripping, those could happen.
Not wrong.
But yeah. And then, Heather, or not Heather, she's in the casket. But Ryan and Nikki hear the commotion and they leave their harmonica barn to see what's going on. They yell and get Leatherface's. Oh, did you guys like harmonica barn? That was a throwaway joke.
Just reminds me of the dress barn.
Like the Pottery Barn.
The pottery.
Yeah.
Welcome to the harmonica barn. We sell
Sex.
Adam and Eve related things.
Yeah. It's just a brothel. It's a fancy word for a brothel.
Yeah.
Not fancy though at all. I feel like brothel is definitely a fancier word than harmonica barn, but
That's the Texas word
it's
for
the
brothel.
discount brothel.
Yeah.
So they come out, they get Leatherface's attention, they yell at him, and then they go back into the barn and close the door behind them. Leatherface starts.
They just kind of chill out there. When we see like another door behind them, it doesn't occur to them to flee. But that bothered me.
It's you do better in this
slasher
situation
movie
where a guy's
patterns.
coming at you with a chainsaw. Oh, you would? That's fair.
I'd run away.
Oh, that's fair. But then you might trip.
There is that, and I probably would. But they see him with a chainsaw, and it is so urgent at that point to block the door with a bar of wood. And
I mean, it kind of is. I mean, there is an element of, like, it does slow him down. I mean, if they didn't do that, he would have just pushed the door open and immediately leave it in the room.
That's a good point.
He starts to,
They do chainsaw, or they block it with the wood. Nikki gets a shotgun, and instead of waiting for, like, Leatherface to break through and then getting, like, a clear shot, she just takes a pot shot in the dark.
I see what you're saying. But also, what if the second he gets through that door and he runs at you and then you miss because he's now in front of you? People make mistakes with...
I don't know if you know this, but shotguns are most effective at close range.
I mean, still, I can't... She wasn't relatively close range, but I think the thing you're glossing over when you talk about that is her amazing line.
It is retroactively good.
No, it's
in my
not.
opinion.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's such a
I
bad
argue that it is.
line. It's the second worst line in the movie.
The reason why it's good, I hear this line. Okay, so she says, "Hey, welcome to Texas," and I heard this line and I just winced. I thought, like, that is a cringe-inducing line, and I started thinking, like, because she just took a road trip here and has been here for several hours, and Leatherface has lurked here in, like, the deepest, most rural depths of Texas all his entire life.
Okay.
And I think that's what kind of made me enjoy it more. Not because I thought, like, oh, yeah, get Leatherface, raw. More because, like, I've talked about this before in the previous episode. I really enjoy the trope or the pattern of, like, these outsiders come, like, bungling through and meeting these monsters that they never would have imagined facing. And I think Leatherface fills that role really well. So, it's a good moment of, like, hubris on her part. I don't think it's one that makes me cheer for her. It just kind of makes me think, like, you're gonna get it,
I guess
That was the effect that it had on me once she.
I thought it
died.
was just terrible.
That's valid too.
I do now after you point
I
out,
won't
see,
try
there's some irony there, fair, but I still think it was badly written and also kind of badly delivered as her, like, voice cracks as she's saying it, which is fair. She's scared.
Welcome to Texas.
But just it's not imposing at all. But yeah, she shoots through the door, which does stop Leatherface from chainsawing for the moment. As then they hear something else though. What's that? There's something coming right for him. It's a van that bursts through the door, and it's Heather. Heather's driving it. This is not the next generation. Leatherface cannot
Leatherface drive.
Driving her, yeah, dude. Yeah.
So they all get into the van and they all start to try to escape Leatherface, but he kind of, like, chainsaws through the open van door, but they're able to get away from him before he really could do any damage. And they just start driving away, and then they make the stupidest decision in all of horror history. Well, specifically Ryan. Ryan makes the stupid decision of all of horror history, as he can understand her because he specifically in his words tells her to not worry about it. He's just going to do it anyway. Ignores Heather telling him, "Hey, slow down so the door can open." He goes, "I'm going to go right through this iron gate that opens inward."
Iron gate
that opens towards them. Like, maybe if it opened outward, you could maybe burst out. Maybe it'd still be a bad choice, but okay. But and so he just full speed ahead, hits it, and it just like does nothing. It bounces them back because it's a solid iron gate.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that,
And indelibly damages the van.
Yeah, the van won't start. And then he's eventually able to get it to start for a little bit. They back up. The van stops again. And Leatherface is really closing in. He's right at the end, and they start going out maybe a second too early because, they waited too long and then the car didn't start. All that fun. And they clip their side mirror and, like, the side of their car, which once again spins them out, and they stall again, which now Leatherface is right there. So he chainsaws through the tire, like destroying the whole wheel, and then they start to drive away and they flip because of this. Ryan made the stupidest decision.
Is that terrible driver?
Yeah, he made the stupidest decision in all of horror and killed them. Oh, well, mostly him, specifically, right now. Because he dies in a car crash.
Only him. Yeah. Like his head goes through the windshield.
And in its own way, brutal kill. Because, once again, it felt more real. Like, people die in car wrecks like that. Like, people don't get chainsawed in half. Like, this kill, I didn't go, like, great. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, respect. Okay, oh.
Yeah.
Because it was also, like, really well done with the way, like, the blood was spurting onto the windshield.
A piece of glass stuck in his neck.
Dude, yeah.
It was brutal, and, I can't say he didn't deserve it. He was a cheater, and he didn't listen to Heather when she could. They all could be alive right now. But he's an idiot.
True.
So now they're all flipped over. He's dead. And Leatherface is up at the van, and he starts to like chainsaw through the windows. And first time when he swipes in, he hits Nikki's bare leg. Once again, her own decisions made it so she got hurt more here, because if she was still wearing her shorts, okay, maybe not, but if she was like wearing jeans, I guess we got to go further back in her life decisions that got her here. Her being a big ol' lady who chooses to, wear short shorts, now had, her bare leg was there, so she got cut by the chainsaw. Then they move over to the other side as he's like go to the other side, and they kind of slide back and forth before he pushes the van over onto its side, because it was on its top, and he pushes it over to its side. He's able to open the door now, and he cuts at her stomach, which she's still alive though. She's screaming. Very important that she is still alive, so she can die later in such a sad, brutal way. But yeah, at this point, Heather runs away. And it's time for our classic. It's a Texas Chainsaw film, so it's time for Leatherface to chase the final girl with his chainsaw through the woods.
Yeah.
She runs to the carnival, which was mentioned in a throwaway line earlier.
Yeah.
And
some kind of festival going on.
Yeah, I think Kenny literally says carnival, but yeah, it's
Scott
like,
Eastwood
all right, cool.
Here for a carnival?
Random Halloween carnival, and sure. And we get to the carnival. One of the first things we see is a little saw-wielding kid who's dressed like the pig mask from Saw, because this is a Lionsgate film, which means we can do that because they own Saw 2. Not Saw. They don't own Saw 2. They own Saw as well. They own all the Saw films, not just... They own Saw 2. Specifically Saw 2, the second one. No. I also do think there's a little bit of a reference here to the movie Motel Hell, because in that movie there is a chainsaw-wielding villain who wears a pig head specifically, and like chainsaws aren't part of the Saw franchise. Kind of ironic. You'd think a movie called Saw might have had chainsaw, but at least I could be wrong. I haven't seen those movies, but I've seen a lot of videos on those movies. I don't believe chainsaws are used, at least by like the pig mask like assistants of Jigsaw, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is a direct reference to Saw, but yeah, the little kid gets right in Leatherface's face and kind of just scares him away. Apparently, in the original script, the plan was to like cut the kid in half, but money. They had to can't kill. You can't. Scripts have to get changed because that's going to be real expensive.
Well, yeah. I think there are other motivations at play as well, and I might just be optimistic here, but we get Farnsworth explain later on in the movie that he says something along the lines of it makes sense for Leatherface to go.
Oh no, yeah, no, that's fair.
At you, Heather, And this movie like devotes a lot of time to making Leatherface sympathetic.
Yeah.
And I mean, he can only go so far with that because his whole role is to chop people up.
Okay, see,
a kid might have pushed that a little bit far.
I wasn't going to bring this up because I don't like to nitpick other people's reviews who are bigger than us, especially, because then definitely makes no sense. But I did see a review by a creator named Cody Leach. He's much bigger than us, but if you don't follow him, go follow him. I really like his work. He mentioned like how I hate this movie because Leatherface is sympathetic, and I'm like, did you watch the original? Like, I get don't get me wrong. Like, Leatherface is sympathetic in this movie, and this movie has reasons to hate it. Like, if you hate this movie, I'm not going to fault someone for hating this movie. But hating it for him being sympathetic, I'm like, Leatherface is always sympathetic. Like, that's the whole point of Leatherface.
Well, not always.
You're right. Sorry, he's not always. The original movie that this is supposed to be like a sequel to, Leatherface is a sympathetic character. That's just me.
Or at least like a complex character.
Yeah.
He's not the villain of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, really. I mean, yeah.
So Leatherface chases her, continues to chase Heather through the carnival. Heather ends up hanging from a Ferris wheel. She's real strong, apparently. That's like impressive.
Yeah.
Like, she needs to go be on American Ninja Warrior. Her grip strength is next level. So yeah, she goes all the way around it. And right before Leatherface would have been able to get to her, Officer Carl runs over and tells Leatherface to put the saw down. So Leatherface throws it at him, and the worst / funniest 3D effect I've ever seen. I laughed out loud because it was that stupid, but I loved it.
Yeah, this is one of the cheesier 3D shots that we see here.
Carl does duck, though, so Carl's good. And Leather runs away. Outside the house,
into the night.
Officer Marvin calls in the lack of bodies in the van to the sheriff, and he starts to follow a trail of blood. And then we head to the sheriff's office, where Officer Carl gives Heather a clean shirt that she doesn't button up properly because being hot is still her priority. I really thought it was really stupid. This is purely an Austin nitpick, but she doesn't do it. Here's the thing: the first couple buttons, those impede, whatever. It makes it hard to breathe. But she buttons like 2 in the middle, right over her cleavage, and then leaves the bottom 6 open because her midriff needs to be seen no matter what.
I mean, she is wearing those low-rise jeans.
Okay, you just almost died. Why are you still caring about being hot? Button up your shirt all the way. I don't know, it annoyed me. And I don't know what, it's why are you leaving your shirt open now? You gotta impress Officer Carl. I guess her boyfriend's dead now, so she's gotta get a new one. So I guess it's fair, actually. I take it back.
She's back on the market, Austin.
That's fair. I take it back. She's gotta be hot. She then gives an exposition dump to the Sheriff Hooper, and so now he's up to date on the plot of the movie. Then Sheriff Hooper meets with the Mayor Burt, and tells him about the fact that Jed is still alive. And Officer Marvin calls in about the blood trail and decides to ignore the sheriff's orders and go in to look for Leatherface. He is also egged on by Mayor Burt, but Mayor Burt is not his boss. His boss is Sheriff Hooper, and Sheriff Hooper told him, "Stop, don't do it." And he's Leatherface ain't bulletproof because he's got a chainsaw, so he goes in.
More hubris. There we go.
Yeah.
A lot of hubris in the movie. I gotta say, Sheriff Hooper is a terrible sheriff. Great heart.
Well, he's been doing it for 40 years.
Absolute
Isaiah.
bad sheriff.
When you've been doing a job for 40 years, it gets hard. Because remember, he's been sheriff for 40... I hate this movie. I hate that point. I hate the time jump of this movie makes me so mad. He has been sheriff for at least 40 years.
He's a day from retirement, he's kind of phoning it in. Yeah.
Back to Heather, who gets bored waiting around, so she decides to tamper with some police evidence and finds out the backstory of the first movie and sees the date, August 19th, on the newspaper. Then we cut back to the house, where Marvin investigates the house while using his iPhone, cementing the 2012-ish timeframe to give the visuals to the mayor. And then we cut back to Heather, who is tampering with more police evidence. This time, it's a statement from Officer Hooper explaining that the Sawyer slaughter was Bert's fault. Then we cut back to Officer Marvin, who follows Bert's orders to follow the blood trail into the basement. He was, a smart guy. Marvin, even by that point, Marvin's like, maybe I stop. But no. The mayor was like, you go down into that death basement and you die.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Where he gets spooked by a rat in a bathroom before finding some of Leather's bone art, as well as this is his bedroom, where he also has a bunch of female clothing and makeup, which, of course, means we gotta throw in a nice, homophobic slur. Gotta do it. Wait, no, actually you don't.
He's a real fruitcake.
I wasn't gonna quote the slur, but sure. I mean,
fruitcake's inoffensive. No need for an asterisk.
I feel like in the context, it is offensive.
Well, yeah, I mean...
No, in the context, it is offensive, and that was the point.
Yeah.
You're right. Fruitcake is a disgustingly tasting food.
Let's keep going.
But yeah. Where did I leave off? Back to Heather, who finds out... officially, she was never found and was assumed dead. Back to Officer Marvin in the basement, where he finds the 3 male victim bodies all butchered up and finds a freezer that Bert makes him open. Where Nikki pops out in a callback to the original, but it startles Marvin into shooting her in the head.
Yeah.
It's the saddest death in the franchise for me, at least. Just not that I like the character even, just because it was so preventable if he was just
Dude.
had trigger discipline.
Yeah.
She was, she wasn't innocent. She did cheat. No, but she did not deserve to die.
She had it coming.
Yeah, she had it
Well,
coming.
but no. Well, according to that song earlier, she did.
That's true.
If you went against God.
If you mess with God, he'll F you up.
Bullet through the head, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, now she's shot in the head because of this guy just not being good at his job. Marvin goes to leave, and he heads up to the main floor, where Leatherface starts just chopping him up with a hatchet, meaning that we now have more hatchets in this movie than the whole Hatchet franchise put together. And he just repeatedly just chops him up. Doesn't kill him, though, as we'll find out when we cut back to the scene later, because he's still alive, twitching later, but he is messed up by this hatchet. He would bleed out no matter what. Bert and Sheriff Hooper then head to the room Heather was being held in. I guess not held in because she was allowed to leave, but I guess just sitting in. I don't know. Because the sheriff doesn't seem at all to be like, oh dang, she ran. He's like, hey, don't you do anything to her. Not technically she ran from the cops, so I guess she wasn't being held. But yeah, so she's gone, and she did leave the room by, marking the group picture from earlier with the word murderers. Because she read 3 articles, and now she's decided that the Sawyer family were actually innocent cannibal murderers.
Yeah. They didn't deserve to die for killing and eating people.
Yeah. So Heather calls Mr. Farnsworth. Is it Farnsworth? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Farnsworth.
Calls Mr. Farnsworth on a payphone, and he tells her to meet her at a bar. Then we cut back to the house, where Leatherface drags the somehow still living Marvin to the basement and slams the metal door. Woo, yeah, he did it.
Yeah, metal door slamming. Woo.
He then cuts off Marvin's face, and it looks like he's going to make a new skin mask out of it, but he actually has to set that one aside so he can, have that, age and leather. But he is putting on a new face mask because his face mask is not good anymore, but he takes one that's already been done. That fresh one, Marvin's face, that's just for later. He takes this new mask, and he sews it into his face to keep it on.
Dude.
That was pretty metal. That was cool.
And we get a lot of detail in that shot, too. We see his beard, his teeth, and everything.
Yeah. Probably not enough beard, because I don't know how he's shaving. But
Yeah. I liked that stylistically in the first one too, like especially that shot of Leatherface sitting by the window close up, and like and he licks his lips.
Yeah.
Those are always. I look for that in like in every Texas Chainsaw movie.
You've probably been disappointed in most of the Texas Chainsaw movies.
I really have. Totally.
But yeah, so he sews it to his face, and then we cut to the bar where Mr. Farnsworth tells Heather about how Leatherface is jet. First, he's like, "Did you read the letter?" And she's like, "No." He's like, "I told you to, right?"
Why not?
It's like, you did, Farnsworth. You told her twice. Don't feel bad. You did your job. And he tells her how Leatherface is actually Jed, her cousin, and how Verna kept an eye on her, and that Leather knows about her. And she's like, "Oh, really? Then why is he doing this?" He's like, "Well, how is he supposed to know that you were her? And, last time he let a girl get away, his whole family died." It's like, technically true,
Fair.
according to this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bert shows up at the bar, and Heather tries to escape, but ends up getting hit by Ollie's car. So she's knocked down on the ground. Ollie comes over to pick her up. Kind of creepy too, because Ollie's kind of a creep, as we established earlier when he was really happy about Nikki's butt. But
Heather grabbed a knife when she was on the way out of the bar.
So she slices up his face and runs away. She gets picked up by Officer Carl, the hero of the movie. Oh, wait, we already told you he's not. And he turns out to be Mayor Bert's son, because Scott Eastwood can only ever play someone's kid, because he's not believable. He is a son. Scott Eastwood or Carl, no matter what, you have to be the son of a more interesting character or person. Seems mean. Scott Eastwood's probably a great guy. He's just not the best actor. And also while she's in there, she does. He takes her to the old slaughterhouse, because that's what Mayor tells him to do. Bert tries to get a hold of Marvin to tell him to go to the slaughterhouse, but Leatherface picks up the radio instead, and knows how to use it, and so he's able to have it clicked so Bert thinks Marvin is there and tells him the rest about specifically the slaughterhouse. So now Leatherface gets to be in the climax of the movie. Yay, Leatherface! Woo! So he goes to go pick himself up a new chainsaw from his chainsaw cabinet. He also grabs a tie.
Chainsaw farm.
Yeah. Looks at them all, kind of like goes, "Oh, this one."
It's the one that says the Sawers family on the bar.
No, that's not. That's only canon in 2 and 3.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. There's no chrome-plated chainsaw on this one.
I don't know if it's this saw or if it's a different saw he has, or it's just one in the cabinet. One of them is like an exact the same model as from the original movie. Like they couldn't get the same saw, but they got one of the ones that was like the same model. So that's cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the cop car, Heather tries to stab Carl. After to be like, "I thought you were cute," which kind of gets him off his guard a little bit, and then she tries to stab him through the cop car, like the little hole in the. I thought it was cool, but then it was immediately not cool. Like her trying to kill him, cool, but then she goes, "I'm a Sawyer," and she's like, "All right, cool. You've read a paper and now you're crazy." Okay, all right, movie. We could have had a little more progression there.
I think there's good progression. I mean, she's pushed to commit her first assault, kind of a milestone for the Sawyers. But like when we introduced her in the first place, she's a little bit macabre,
true.
Like making bone art.
She does ask Trey Songz if she's cracked, and he says no, but maybe he was wrong.
It could be, Yeah, he was just being nice about it.
He ties her up in the slaughterhouse, which the slaughterhouse itself was actually not a slaughterhouse this time around. It was actually an ammo manufacturing. There was a funny little quote from the documentary talking about how this movie, we're gonna talk about killing people in it, but this building has killed 47 million people because it made all these bullets and grenades and stuff. I think it was Mayor Bert's actor who said that. I could be wrong on who said it, but I think it was him. And it's you're not wrong.
You look at it one way.
Yeah, I guess this building did kill a lot more people than this franchise did. But then, During this, like, him tying her up, he gets mad at her, and he rips her shirt open. And this is another time where I'm going to mention, like, don't do things if you're not willing to do things. Because now, for the next, like, scene and a half, her shirt is just magically floating on her open breast. Like, she taped it up to put it there, which, like, fair. I have nothing against Alexandra Daddario for not wanting to show her boobs in this movie. Good on her. But, like, don't do this scene where her shirt gets ripped open and then stays, like, right at the, like, line where you don't see anything. You only see side boob. It's like, what are you doing? That's not how shirts work. But whatever.
It's a magic shirt.
It's just... It's stupid. It's like, it was so unnecessary, too. Like, I don't know, have her still wearing a... I say it's unnecessary, but technically, due to the way the story's written, it is necessary because you have to have her shirt ripped open so you can see the stupid brand that should be way too big. Because the next scene, you have to be able to see that. But, as established in the, the bone art scene, her little scar can be seen while she's wearing a bra. So just have her wear a bra in this scene so it doesn't look stupid with her shirt just clinging to her breast. I don't know. It really irritated me because it's just like, it was unnecessary and stupid. I don't know. It was just... This one insults me more than every other time I complained about the lack of nudity in this movie. It's like, this is stupid. It makes no sense. There's the physics. There's physics involved, and it's not how physics work. But yeah. Carl leaves because, the mayor's like, hey, no place for a cop. Then Leather shows up and is about to 3D chainsaw her to death, but he sees her Sawyer brand and stops. And then he starts to free her. Before he's able to cut the second rope, though, he is attacked by Bert and Ollie, who just start to beat him down with pipes. And then Heather starts to run away. She gets away. Like, Ollie tries to stop her, but he's not able to. And Heather runs away. She's about to leave, but she hears what's happening. And gosh darn it, he's family. I have to risk my life to save this man who murdered 3 of my friends. Because he's family. But yeah, so she starts to come back inside. Back inside, though, we're watching Bert and Ollie, who are chaining up Leatherface around his neck. And then Ollie goes to turn on the meat grinder, as well as the chain winch that, pulls Leatherface towards the open meat grinder so he could fall in. Hypothetically, could have fell into it. Then Heather comes up and just pitchforks Ollie in the stomach. Well, I guess another one of those kills that was just, it's there. I don't hate it, but it wasn't impressive either. This is not the kill I hate.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell by where we are in the movie which one it probably is at this point. This is not the one I hate. But yeah, then Heather walks over. While this is all happening, Bert is just berating Leatherface as he's dragging him, just being a real mean guy. It's almost like he's the bad guy, and Leatherface is a hero.
Yeah.
Heather walks over, throws the saw to Leather, and then tells him the actual worst line in the movie: "Do your thing, cuz."
Yeah.
This is a terrible line. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Leatherface.
Well, they bonded, Austin.
Yeah,
they
sure,
bonded.
totally.
It was the murdering of her 3 friends that really bonded her to her cousin.
Really endeared her to him.
She cuts. Leatherface cuts his ankles, making him a shorter man now, and then the sheriff shows up, Sheriff Hooper, and he arrives, but he doesn't shoot because Heather just says, "No, don't do it, please." And he's like, "Okay, fine. I guess He throws back the line of "Can't escape God's word," and it's like, all right, sure, Sheriff Hooper. Yeah, and then while that part's happening, we cut back to Leatherface, who cuts off his hands, and Mayor Burt slides into the meat grinder in a very PS1 graphic. It's PS2 graphics, really, but PS2 graphics CGI kill. It's terrible. It's why CGI graphics suck. And this movie, part of what makes it even worse is this movie didn't have CGI graphics in any of the other kills. We got awesome kills, and then this, I get it, you can't do a meat grinder kill well. Fair, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, then don't write a meat grinder kill into the script if you can't do it right. Or do some more cuts where you like cut to a fake body going in. Like, K&B effects can make really good fake bodies. We've seen them in this franchise. Like, just do it practical, or don't do it. It looks so bad.
I wasn't terribly offended by this kill.
Well,
personally, it seemed a little like a lot of Tim Burton style blood. This big red ketchup look. But other than that, I mean,
I hated it. It looked so fake to me. It looked so cheesy.
Each his own. I mean,
and not like fake and cheesy in a fun way, not like in a Evil
Campy
Dead
way.
splatter way. Like, this is a. It just looks cheaply done, like, because it's CGI when everything else was practical, which looks so much better. I was mad. Then Hooper. Oh, then sorry. This is then where Hooper requotes Bert from the beginning about not getting around the good
can't get around
book.
the good book. Yeah.
And he walks away. Heather walks over and she turns off the saw, and they head home together, where Heather, she cleans Leatherface's wounds, but he stops her from removing his skin mask.
As it is sewn onto his face.
Yeah.
It would
There
hurt.
is-
I
there is
remember
that. She then reads the letter and finds out her real name is Edith. The letter is narrated by Verna, and we also see shots of her throughout it. And Verna, fun fact, is played by Marilyn Burns, who was Sally Hardesty in the first movie. So that's cool.
Okay. That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edith then goes downstairs, picks up the food tray, and she leaves Leather. And she she leaves him from the room. She doesn't leave. She's decided to stay. Because, family is family and all that crap. Leather slams the door shut to end the movie. Or so you would think, because there's a post-credit scene where Heather's adopted parents show up and they're like trying to get some of her inheritance. They're like, it's honestly kind of a cute, funny scene of them being like, oh, we gotta be on good best behavior because we want to make sure she thinks we love her. And the dad says like, oh, with this much money, I actually do. And then Leatherface, you hear the chainsaw start to rev up, and Leatherface opens the door and like goes towards the camera one last time, and that's where the movie actually ends.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't
I
miss
didn't
anything. Yeah. I guess you did miss 2 more implied kills, so the kill count would have been lower if you stopped where you were. But yeah, my thoughts. This movie's not good at all. Like, it's got so many flaws, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Even talking about it again and watching it again with my dad last night, I still like this movie. It was fun. Like, I had so much fun. It was such crap, but the gore was really good. Some of the acting was so bad I laughed. I laughed, and that's fun. Like, I enjoyed my time. Like, it's not good. It's one of the worst movies maybe I've ever seen. Not really. I've seen some really bad ones. But it is.
I was gonna say, you've seen. Yeah.
I've seen some really bad movies, but it is fundamentally a bad movie. But I really enjoyed it. Like, I'm not like it was. I'm gonna make fun of crap like do your thing, but it's also funny. It's not. It wasn't played to be funny. That's supposed to be the big emotional moment where she's like, do your thing. I've accepted that I'm a Sawyer. But I'm like, you're an idiot. You just said the words, do your thing, cuz. But yeah, I enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
It was fun. I had fun. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah. This movie certainly is not good. There's a plethora of things that really just don't make sense. It is kind of just things happen, and because we need it to happen for the sake of this movie existing. There are some parts that are like laughably bad. I did not laugh, unfortunately, but I also didn't watch this with anyone else at any other point in time. Maybe it would have been a different experience, but watching this by myself, it was just like cringing at some of the parts. Like, yeah, do you think? Because I was like, huh? What? She just got over the death of her presumably 3 friends. Like, some of the people she's closest to, since her parents suck. And now she's just like, yeah, I'm over those people. I'm ready to accept my new murdering family.
But didn't you see she read the police files, Chris?
She did read files. And I guess she just is really not attached to anything. Except the family. This is really just a Fast and Furious.
Sheriff Hooper was in them.
It's really paving the ground. Or paving the road for Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious definitely started like in 2001, but sure, yeah.
It's setting the for Fast and Furious 8.
Oh, okay, you know, fair.
Yeah.
Family. I did not enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to.
Yeah. Not sorry.
Dang, dude. I know I normally side with at least one of y'all. And I'm certainly not going to put up a lot of fight about certain aspects of the movie. Like, that is a cheesy line. That's some chunky blood in that final meat grinder death. Little things like that. I guess I part ways a little bit, in my opinion, as to how much weight these things should have compared to, I think, more important aspects of the movie. It's my opinion. Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I really did enjoy was the fact that they really tried to strike a balance between the evil of Leatherface and his sympathetic side, which has been pretty lopsided in every movie we've seen since the original, I think. Number 2 tried to present him in a similar light, with a little bit more comedy. But aside from that, I think for the most part we've seen Leatherface is just a big baby, or Leatherface is the devil incarnate. And this one actually, put him in situations where he was, for the most part, in a defensive position in the house, or explained his motives for chasing down Heather in the first place, right? And he generally abstained from, he doesn't go out on the offensive looking for victims. We don't really see him eating people. And I thought that he was portrayed actually in a really balanced way. And it was similar for Heather as well, which we've already kind of talked about, where we just get little hints that kind of build throughout the movie of her dark side, and it eventually culminates in her joining the stores in, admittedly, a super cheesy line. I'm not going to fight you on that one. I really dug the motifs of Western movies, like the corrupt lawman, or the corrupt town leader, and the lone lawman and Sheriff Hoover and things like that. But I also enjoyed that this wasn't in a Western setting. It's kind of more like Palestine or that area of Texas, and the Piney Woods. And I thought that actually really worked because it's spookier and foggier, and you can't see that far in front of you. The openness and the sunniness of the first movie is just totally gone, and traded out for these looming pine trees, and it's a very shadowy landscape that I thought went really well. But I've got to rank this so far my second favorite Chancellor movie after the first one. I really do, because it would actually there's such fidelity to the first one, and personally, I just think the story is told better than we've seen before in all the previous remakes and reboots and everything like that. They actually try to connect it and link it to the first one, and the time issue is, for me, cosmetic, but that's just my opinion. So.
All right. Well, for that, Isaiah, I'm gonna have to kick you off the podcast. You'll understand that joke next week, audience. But yeah, this has been the Horror Bois Podcast. We have a hard out timeline, so we gotta wrap this up, get into those little outro bits. If you like this podcast, head on over to, your favorite podcast app that you're listening to this already. Head on over to the app you're already on and give it a 5-star review, and, tell your friends about it. It really helps. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and watch the video throughout the whole video, because if not, we don't get credit for it, really. That matters. It's all about watch time on YouTube. Woo! But yeah, I've been Austin, and we're not done yet. Patreon.com/horrorboys if you want to support us directly. That'd be cool. But yeah, we're the Horror Boys. I'm Austin, joined as always by Chris and Isaiah. I don't know if I do that here. I don't remember. Who cares? Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.